Om Sai Ram. Chapter 5. Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai, contact with other saints, his attire and daily routine, the story of the padukas, wrestling bout with Mohiddin and change in life, turning water into oil, the pseudo guru Javahar Ali. Written with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba's returned to Shiridi after his disappearance. There lived in the Aurangabad district Nizam state in a village called Dhoop a well-to-do Mohiddin gentleman by name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months he made a diligent search and could not trace of the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After travelling 4 kos and a half, he came on a way to a mango tree under the foot of which sat a fakir, a queer fellow. He had a cap on his head, wore kafni, that is long robe, and had a satka, that is short stick, under his arm. And he was preparing to smoke a chillam. On seeing Chand Patil pass by the way, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and rest a little. The queer fellow or fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mare, which was lost some time back. The fakir asked him to make a search in the nala close by. He went, and the wonder of the wonders, he found the mare there. He thought that the fakir was not an ordinary man, but an great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chillam was ready for being smoked, but 2 things were wanting, that is, fire to light the pipe and water to wet the chappi, that is, piece of cloth through which smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live ember, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from where water began to ooze. The chappi was wetted with that water, then wrung out and wrapped round the pipe. Thus everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chillam and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day, he went to Patil's house and stayed there for some time. Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Shiridi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shiridi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dhoop except the fakir, who stayed back at Shiridi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai? When the marriage party came to Shiridi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bhagat Mal Sapti's field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Khandoba's temple, and the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Mal Sapti saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, "Ya Sai, welcome Sai." Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devi Das was living in Shiridi for many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavadi and sometime lived alone. Then came another saint by name Janki Das. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Janki Das went to Baba's residence. So also one Vaishya householder saint from Puntambe by name Gangagir also frequented to Shiridi. When he first saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shiridi that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land, Shirdi was fortunate and meritorious. It secured this jewel. So also, one famous saint by name Anandanath of Yeola Mutt, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi, and some people, when he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a gur, that is, ordinary stone, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yeola. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Now, Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, that is 3 miles from Shiridi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, jai, and jui, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 unbaked earthen pictures. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they were broken. And they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years. And with Sai Baba's toil and effort, there grew a beautiful garden. On this side, at present, stands the big mansion, Samadhi Mandir of Sai Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of padukas, that is footprints, under the neem tree. A devotee of Akalkot Maharaj by name Bhai Krishnaji Alibagkar worshipped the photo of Akalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akalkot, that is in Sholapur district, take the darshan of the padukas, that is footprint, of the Maharaj, and offer him his sincere prayers there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shiridi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Baba changed his plan. So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shiridi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was very happy. As a reminiscence of this vision, etc., he prepared the padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan, that is Sakha 1834, that is 1912 AD, under the neem tree, with due ceremonies and formalities, conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasani. One Dikshit Brahman was appointed for worship, and the management was entrusted to devotee Shagun. Now, complete version of this story. Mr. B.V. Dev, retired Mamlatdar of Thana and a great devotee of Sai Baba, made enquiries about this matter with Shagun Meru Nayak and Govind Kamlakar Dikshit, and has published a full version of the padukas in Sai Leela, volume 11, number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka, 1912 AD, one Dr. Rama Rao Kothare of Mumbai came to Shiridi for Baba's darshan. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnji Alibagkar accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate and Shagun Meru Nayak and G.K. Dikshit. Intimate with Shagun Meru Nayak and G.K. Dikshit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of Sai Baba's first advent at Shiridi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's padukas there and were going to make them of some time with some rough stone. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested that if this matter was made known to his master, that is Dr. Rama Rao Kothare, he would prepare nice padukas for this purpose. All liked this proposal and Dr. Kothare was informed of it. He came to Shiridi and drew a plan of the padukas. He went to Upasani Maharaj in Khandoba's temple and showed him his plan. The latter made many improvements. He drew lotus, flowers, conch, disc, mace, etc. and suggested that the following shloka, that is the verse, regarding neem tree's greatness and Baba's yogic powers be inscribed. The verse was as this. Sada nimba vrikshasya mooladhivasata sudha stravanim Sudha Stravinam Tikta Mayam Priyam Tam Taru Kalpa Vrikshadhika Sadhayantam Namamiswaram Sadgurum Sainatham. The translation is, I bow to the Lord Sainath, who by his consent stay at the foot of the neem tree made it, which though bitter and unpleasant, was yet oozing nectar, that is, the oozing of the tree is called amrit, that is, nectar, on account of its healing properties, better than the kalpa vriksha, that is, wish-fulfilling tree. Upasani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The padukas were made in Mumbai and sent to Shirdi with his compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima, 15th of Shravan, on that day at 11 a.m. G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from Khandoba's temple to the Dwarka Mai, that is masjid, in the inner possession. Baba touched the padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them under the foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Mumbai named Pasta Seth sent rupees 25 by money order. Baba gave this sum for the installation of the padukas. The total expense of the installation came up to rupees 100, out of which rupees 75 was collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dikshit worshipped the padukas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Kacheshwar Jakhadi. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kothare sent rupees 2 per month for lightning lamps, and he also sent the railings around the padukas. The expense of bringing the railings from the station to Shirdi, that was rupees 7 to 8. Presently it is 7 rupees 50 paise. And roofing was paid by Shagun Meru Nayak. Now Jakhadi, that is Nana Pujari, does the worship, and Shagun Meru Nayak offers the Naivedya and lights the evening lamps. Bhai Krishna ji was originally a devotee of Akalkot Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the padukas in Shaka 1834 on his way to Akalkot. He wanted to go to Akalkot after taking the darshan of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akalkot? Who do you go there? Why do you go there? The Maharaj of that place is here myself. Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akalkot. He came to Shiridi off and on after the installation of the padukas. Mr. B.V. Dev concluded that Hemant Pant did not know these details. He had known had he known them, he would have failed to depict them in his Satcharita. Now, wrestling bout with Mohiddin, Tomboli, and change in lifestyle. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shiridi by name Mohiddin Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some points, but both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his bed, and was content with wearing torn and worn out rags. He always said, "Poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always, that is, the befriender of the poor." Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion descended over him, and at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body playing with God. So he too gave up sansara and returned towards the God realization. He established a mutt on the banks of the river near Punthambe and lived there with his disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of babul tree near the stream at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at Ransom and go at times to Nimgaon. There, he frequented the house of Bala Sahib Dengle. Baba loved Mr. Bala Sahib. His younger brother named Nana Sahib had one son. Though he married a second wife, Bala Sahib sent Nana Sahib for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Sahib got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. From thence, Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Keshav Chambur Chidambar and many others began to come to Shiridi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of chillam, tobacco, a tumbrel, that is a tin pot, long kafni, a piece of cloth round his head, and satka, that is a short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on the head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes or sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a kaupin, that is, waist cloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of dhuni, that is, the sacred fire facing south, and with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that dhuni, he offered oblation of egoism, desires, and always uttered Allah O Malik, that is, God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place, Takia, where the gunguru, that is small bells tied on his ankles, Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love. Now let us see turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The baniyas who supplied oil gratis once met together and decided not to give him oil. When, as usual, Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The baniyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tumbrel, that is a tin pot, which contained a very little few drops of oil, put some water into it and drank it, and then forced it fall into the container. After concentrating the tin pot in this way, he again took the water from the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching baniyas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The baniyas repented and apologized, and Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. Now, the pseudo guru Javahar Ali. 5 years after the wrestling bout, the above mentioned one fakir from Ahmednagar named Javahar Ali came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in Bakhal, that is a spacious room near Vidarbha temple. The fakir was learned and could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. While, with the help of the people, he started to build a Eidgah, a walled enclosure in which Mohammedans pray on Eid day, near the Vidarbha temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Javahar Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shiridi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and Chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. Then the Guru, that is the teacher, never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the shortcomings of his Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shiridi off and on, but their mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shiridi did not like that Baba should go stay away from them in Rahata. So they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shiridi. When they met Baba near the Eidgah and told the purpose for which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an angry, ill-tempered fellow. He would not leave him and that they should better go back to Shiridi without him. Before the fakir returned, while they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry and with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some hot discussion and alteration, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and the Chela should return to Shiridi. And so they returned and lived in Shiridi. But after a few days, the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shiridi with the marriage party, this Devidas, aged about 10 to 11 years, came to Shiridi and lived in the Maruti temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and had a dhyani and was a dhyani. Many persons, namely Tatya Kote, Kashinath, and others, regarded him as his guru. They bought Javahar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Javahar was worsted and fled from Shiridi. He went and stayed at Bijapur and returned after many years to Shiridi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba his Chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by his conduct how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of disciple to attain the highest end, that is self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Mala Sapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter will be described Ram Navami festival in the masjid, its former condition and later improvement in it, etc. Bow to Shri Sai Baba, peace be to all.